Kelly Lativola here, and I am back with the next installment of What Would Kelly Make for Simon Says Stamp. And so among the parcels that I was sent this time around, they were all wonderful, but I really thought that it would be cool to approach the topic of blending Copic families. And so this Once in a Chameleon set from Your Next Stamp, the parcel pair was the Stamp and Die. I thought that this would be an excellent way to kind of approach the subject. So I am going to be doing a little bit of a mirror technique. If you're not familiar with that, or if you'd like a more extensive overview, please see the second installment of What Would Kelly Make, because we covered that. But basically, both of the chameleons faced the same direction in this set, and I wanted one to face the other way so that the card would have more balance. So I'm using a piece of acetate to stamp my second chameleon, or well, it's technically the first, I guess. But it's just a placeholder. So right now I'm not being specific with it. I'm going to do a background with the new Distress Oxides, from the brown on the bottom to Fossilized Amber, Spiced Marmalade, Worn Lipstick, Wilted Violet, Broken China, and Peeled Paint. And I just thought that this would be, because the chameleons obviously take on the color of whatever their background is, I thought it would be fun to kind of have a rainbow option. So not only for me, because I love rainbows, but also for you guys, so you could kind of see what those colors, the different color families look like when they're blended together. So I'm just kind of working up the card. I'm not going straight across. I'm trying to vary the areas that have the color in them. And then once I got to the peeled paint at the top, I decided to go back in and add a little at the bottom. Now I'm working on Nina, 80-pound cardstock. So it is not watercolor paper, so it can't take a lot of water, but I did want kind of some variation to my background. So I have my heat gun ready, and I am misting with a water bottle as I'm heating it. It did warp some. I just stuck it underneath the book and it was totally fine. So no big deal. And then there's also these cute little flowers in the set. There's a large and a small. This is a larger one. And I thought that this would be good to not only add something to the background, just add some interest, but also to kind of anchor my chameleons in place. So I am stamping over the background. Now, in order to pick my Copics, I'm going to pull out, I use the hex chart, but whatever you use that shows you what Copics you have, and I'm just going to slide my background around until I find the colors that I feel like match. Now, you will notice that the colors that I chose are not far off from each other. I chose two 23s, an 03, and then two 5s. So when you're picking colors to blend into one another, you want to look at the last number. That's the most important one. There's all kinds of fun stuff that those Copic numbers mean, but a regular everyday crafter really doesn't, I mean, even I don't apply it too much. But it's the last number. That's what matters, folks. So here I'm actually blending an RV55 with a V05. So that first number doesn't even matter. It totally doesn't matter at all. It's that last number, and that last number decides kind of on their intensity. Now for the background, I wasn't getting enough purple with the violet that I had originally picked, so I just picked another one, still ending in 5. Totally fine. And they'll blend together really, really nicely. And you can see here, I'm doing some flicking, but I'm not really being very careful because they're kind of doing the work for me. Copics blend in like the pulp of your paper. So there's some colors that will not blend as well. An RV and a V typically blend pretty easy. Now this B and this V are giving me just, I don't even want to say trouble, because I could probably leave it and it would be fine, but I decided to go back over it because the more moisture that's in the paper, the better that they're going to blend. Now you don't want so much moisture that you're going to bleed outside of your lines, especially not since we're going to die cut this little guy, but that is something that will help, is kind of going back over them. And then this, I went from a B23 to a, what is this, a BG23, and they blend almost seamlessly with pretty much no work for me. So it's really all about picking the color. And like I said, that first number doesn't matter because that BG is a 23. This green that I just put on there is an 03. That first number just basically talks about their brightness. So, and I will say, while I'm coloring this, I did have the background to the left-hand side off the screen so that I could match up the colors. because this has a branch and a leaf in it, Copics are transparent. You can layer them over top of each other. So I wanted to go in and still have a quote-unquote green leaf with those colors underneath it, and then also a brown branch. So I originally picked a E53, but it wasn't dark enough. The RV was just too strong. So I'm going to go back in with a 55 and color over the branch, and that will give me a little more of a brown look like a branch would be. So this is almost kind of like, I don't even, almost like a night scene where the colors would be there, but they'd just be a little darker than they wouldn't be as vibrant as they would be in real life. Also, because the Distress Oxides are more matte, and they are not necessarily as vibrant when you're doing just a regular blended background, so that played into it as well. Here's another example. So the Y that I'm using is a Y23. The green I used is a YG93. Like, you wouldn't think 93 and 23 would blend, but it's that 3. It's the N number. It's magic. So this one has a few less colors in it just because of the way the background had laid. And so I'm picked a more peachy red because that's what I had in the background when I blend the spiced marmalade into the worn lipstick. Like, these are so many colors. Like, I haven't used these colors in forever. It's kind of nice that they brought back some of the older ones in the Distress Oxides. So anyway, I'm just checking my background there. I did want to add just a little bit of shading to his eyeballs, so I'm using a C3 and a C1 just to add a little bit of shading to the left-hand side. I did the same thing on the other chameleon, and then I used the colors I had already picked to blend some of the flowers in. I'm going to put my die in place. Now, I will say, since I did the mirror technique, that chameleon in the top left, I'm not going to be able to die cut him. I had to cut him by hand, but I did leave a white border so everything would match. Once all my pieces parts are cut out, ran those through my Big Shot, I'm just going to add a little bit of detailing with a white gel pen. I should also note that before I cut them out, I did outline them with a Copic Safe pen. I used the EK Success writing pen, and that just gives you a little bit of bolder lines. I noticed with my Distress Oxide background that when I stamped on top of it, it did dull the black of my stamping. So that's something to keep in mind. If you use them and you want a vibrant black line, then maybe you might have to outline them. I chose the sentiment from the same set that says, "Have a colorful birthday," because I thought that that was fun with the little rainbow background. Plus, I like the outlining letters. But now I'm going to pop these guys up on some Scotch foam tape. The white background is going to help set them apart, but then giving them dimension will also help set them apart since they are the same color as the background. They might be just slightly more vibrant, but they really are meant to be part of that background color-wise, so I needed to do something else to set them apart otherwise. And then the little flowers, I just thought would be something that would be cute to, again, kind of tie it all together with the dimension. So I'm using just little squares of the Scotch foam tape to pop those up in various areas. And I knew when I was coloring them, what kind of idea of where I wanted them to go. So I colored them accordingly. Now then, after I get my little flowers, I decided that I was going to go ahead and go in with some clear sequins to accent the sentiment. It just looks kind of like it was floating there. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add some clear Winkostella to a couple of the background flowers. I'm also going to add them to the centers of the popped up flowers. And then just where I felt like my chameleons would have a highlight, I added just a little bit of shimmer. And then that is the whole card. So I hope that you guys learned a little bit about Copic blending families and this made you more comfortable with trying different things. If you did not see the technique video, it goes into a little bit more in depth of the blending and what you can do or can't do. So if you haven't seen that, I hope you'll step over and watch it. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.